menace to sobriety. Just a menace, just a menace, just a menace. Menace to sobriety.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Menace to Sobriety. It's me, your host, Daniel O'Reilly, aka the comedian Dapper Laughs. And yeah, I love it. I love the podcast and I love you guys tuning in. So thank you. If you're watching this when it's dropped, it's Friday night. I like to pop them out on Fridays to keep that gremlin, the sesh gremlin, I call it, away and to help you overcome any of those triggers you might be having on a Friday to get out there. But listen, this is a sober podcast about sobriety, addiction, mental health, well-being. It's great for anyone that's sober curious. It's amazing for people that are on their sober journey, and it's just filled full of fun facts and relatable stories. I'm 341 days, just over 11 months. Thank you. So, you know, it keeps me sober. I like to do it every week. And what I like to do on the podcast is interview and chat to and find out about people that are, you know, knowledgeable in sobriety. So it could be psychologists, could be celebrities, whatever, various different people, authors, everything. Anyone that can give us some information or relatable stories that can help us and get us through. And my next guest has written a book, Me and My Addiction, which straight away caught my eye. I jumped on a little Zoom call to have a chat. And we struck up a rapport and I thought, do you know what? Let's get him on. Let's find out a little bit more about the book, about his story, and see if we can draw any nuggets of information that us lot can take away and use on our own sobriety journeys. Welcome to the stage, Stewart Lee.
Thank you so much, Dan.
How are you, mate?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good man. You come all the way from Devon, right?
Sunny Devon. Not so sunny yesterday, but it's normally sunny, yeah.
And wow, so you got this book, man, Me and My Addiction.
Yes.
I love it when it really gets me going when I see that people have taken the time to write a book, especially about this subject, because it means that it means so much to you, and not just that you want to share, which I think is like the key to recovery, right?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I learned in recovery is that in order to keep it, you have to give it away and help the next person.
I love that. And just before we start, Stuart, tell me a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you do? What's your life consist of right now?
My life now is quite sort of Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 job,
right? Sort
of life, and it's quite. My girlfriend hates this when I say it, but I say it's like a mundane 9 to 5 life, but I enjoy that now.
Yeah, we do, don't we? That's the madness, because I guess the word you didn't want to say is boring, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's such a cliche, but the truth is our life is such mayhem when we're drinking and on the session stuff that it can seem mundane, but so much better.
Yeah. I achieve so much more nowadays now that I've got years of sobriety behind my belt.
How many years sober are you?
Over 10 years now.
Fuck, how old are you? That's crazy.
That's amazing.
I am 41.
41, so you went sober at 31.
Yeah,
wow. All right, so tell me, I'll tell you what, let's go back to the beginning first. Tell me about your story first. And is this book is basically your story, isn't it?
Kind of. I wanted to write the book in a way where it's not just about me and my life.
Right.
The stories about my life in there, but I wanted to write it in a way where I use the stories from my life to kind of highlight points about addiction and the way our minds work and why we do the things we do, so that it can resonate with people who are suffering with addiction. But also it's there to educate people who aren't addicts, because there's so many loved ones out there who don't understand why their loved ones are behaving the way they're behaving. And this book kind of gives them an insight. I got a good review on Amazon recently from a lady who said that she bought the book because she wanted to get into the mind of a loved one. And she realised from reading the book that she had no idea about addiction, and had she not read the book, she would never have known about addiction.
Wow.
So it's doing the job that I wanted it to. It's educating people as well.
That's really interesting, yeah, because in the broader sense of things, more people, so many more people suffer from addiction, not just the addicts, right?
Yeah. Well, so you don't need to be an addict yourself to suffer from the disease, because the ripple effects of it are just huge.
Yeah.
I didn't realise until after I got sober that I sat down with one of my sisters and spoke to her about my behaviour and kind of tried to make amends to her. And I didn't realise that my behaviour almost cost her marriage, because she was sticking up for me and her husband was fed up of it. He was like, your brother's a dickhead. Why are you sticking up for him? So it was only after the fact, when I'm in the middle of my addiction and I'm behaving in those ways, I think it's just me that it's affecting. But I think most people in the world these days probably get affected by addiction somewhere, whether it's a loved one or a friend. You don't have to be an addict to get affected by it.
Yeah, wow. That's the reason why that it kind of hits home with me, is because a lot of the lads that follow me on Instagram, Twitter and all that sort of kick back at my sobriety stuff, the podcast, and when I talk about it, there are a lot of lads that are like, I'm not an addict, I just enjoy a beer and a bit of gear, right? Every weekend.
Yeah.
Right? But a lot of them will also be complaining in the same breath about their missus having a go at them and having a shit relationship and things not going well and being unhappy, depressed, down, anxious. And I think it's, yeah.
Yeah, I think people who even just use alcohol and drugs moderately, it still affects their life in a negative way. They may not realise it straight away, but it still does.
Yeah. So let's talk about you, Stuart, mate. So start me from the beginning. Talk to me about your childhood, if you don't mind, because I always believe that everyone's story. You'll have to excuse the TV there; it likes to turn on and off. But I believe everyone's story, addiction-wise, especially, has got some connection to their upbringing in some way, shape, or form. But start me there. Let's have a chat. Let's get through.
Yeah. So as you said in your nice introduction, I'm a normal, average kind of person. I grew up in sunny Devon. I moved there when I was about 5. With my parents, just a normal working class family. My dad would go out and work and earn the money. My mum would work part time as well, because we didn't have a lot of money, so she had to. There was nothing really abnormal about my upbringing. I always say, from the outside looking in, it looked like just a normal childhood.
Yeah.
I've heard it said before by other people on the podcast that they believe they were born with this, and I believe the same. Like, there was no real major trauma that kind of kicked off anything in me. Just from a young age, I was always fascinated with alcohol. So my family were all kind of big drinkers, and there'd always be like family parties for some reason, or someone's wedding or someone's 18th birthday, and I was always just fascinated by the way people were drinking and enjoying what appeared to me like they were enjoying themselves and having fun, and I just always thought I wanted to do it. I can remember around about the age of 9 or 10, I think, my parents came home one day and talked about they were going to be the landlord and landlady of their local pub, and how would we feel about living above it.
Wow.
And I was super excited. I was like, this is the best thing ever. All the kids at school are going to love me. I'm going to be the most popular kid at school, so I live above a pub. And then a couple of weeks later, they come home and said they weren't doing it. And I was devastated. And I was at 10 years old. Like, the thrill of living above a pub was so... I don't know why at the time. But as I was growing a bit older and getting to teenage years, I was kind of like a really shy kid, had no confidence, didn't feel like I fitted in with anything. And I was trying my best to fit in with different groups of people at the school. And I got involved with the people who smoked, and I started smoking, and I thought that was pretty cool at the time, being one of the naughty kids, going around the back of the bike sheds and stuff and smoking cigarettes. And then I got in with the group that were going out on a Friday night drinking alcohol. And it was, I kind of call it, like, I found alcohol as being like an instant anxiety remover.
Yeah.
As soon as I had it, I just felt like I was the person that I needed to be. I could talk to people the way I couldn't before, had all this confidence, and
it's exciting.
I just loved the way it made me feel. So I just carried on doing it, and I actually got recognition for it at some points as well. Like, people would make jokes of like, "Oh, don't try and outdrink Stuart because he's an animal." And
you liked that?
Yeah. All of a sudden, I was getting people liking me, and it's celebrating something I was doing.
It's such a familiar story, and it's crazy when you think about it with the smoking, because that just clicked with me. I was like, yeah, I remember doing that, the smoking, and it's kind of like it's a cool thing to be naughty, and then the next cool thing's the drinking. I mean, I was smoking weed and solid and all that as well. So the next cool thing's that, the next cool thing's the drinking, and then when you associate the bravado and being able to come out of your skin at such an age where I mean, when we're teenagers, it's such an age, isn't it, where you're like, you don't know who you are and you're trying to impress people, and then you find that, and then suddenly you're free. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't. Most of the things I talk about now is stuff that I've learned over the years of like sobriety. Like I didn't know any of this back then.
Of course, yeah.
But it's almost like addiction is like escapism. Like you're trying to get away from. I wasn't happy in the skin that I was in. I wasn't happy in the life I was living. Felt uncomfortable. I wanted to get out of that, and I was escaping.
Yeah.
And alcohol gave me that straight away. But then what it does is it kind of entraps you away from the life that you're trying to get away from anyway, and keeps you acting in a way where you're pretending to be something you're not. It's almost like you're putting on a character. Yeah. And then you don't like the person that you were getting away from. So when you're sobering up and you're getting back to being that person again, the quickest way to get out of that skin again is just get drunk again.
Oh, mate, I fucking relate to that 110%. That's so fucking relatable. Wow, yeah.
Is these the nuggets that you were after?
Yes, mate. Yeah, I mean, it's just got my mind going. This is what I think the key. Listen, that's why, like, I try and listen more than talk in these podcasts. I find it really difficult because I always want to talk and chip in, but I'm just love soaking up the information, and connection is the key, man. The connection with people and listening to people's stories is the key, just to life, man. And so I love it. So thank you for sharing. But yeah, man. I mean, that's why that's. Like when at the early stages of my sobriety, I thought I was missing the social aspect of drinking, but it wasn't. It was the getting annihilated. It was the escapism. And that's why sobriety, and I've said it many times before, is so hard at the beginning, because you have to sit with yourself, right? Yeah. You have to be yourself. You have to sit with it, and it's horrible. So come on, keep going.
So obviously like the drinking started. I loved it. It made me feel great. I loved the way it made, I say to people that, like, it gave me all this confidence. I can remember times in my school years where, like, I would go out on a Friday night, get drunk, and I'd have all the confidence. I'd chat to girls and get a girlfriend. And then when I go back into school on the Monday, I'd hide from them because I didn't know how to talk to them.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Going through those like end of school years, I kind of messed up my GCSEs, didn't get as good as I was supposed to get because I lost all ambition, really. Alcohol took that away. I wasn't interested in going to college. And I was in an area where it was kind of normal. All the kids were doing the same sort of thing. It's quite a deprived area. And yeah, a lot of the kids around the area were doing drugs at the same time as well. But at the time I wasn't too interested in drugs because, from like what I was saying about the, addiction is fixing how I feel. And the quickest way for me to do it is alcohol. It's easy to get hold of. Drugs I found it was a bit of a pain. You had to know the right person, phone some dodgy guy, go meet him in some back alley somewhere. And that seemed like a ball ache to me, as I wasn't bothered. But eventually, as years went on, alcohol wasn't enough. And then eventually, the peer pressure took over. I started taking drugs as well. I went through periods of different drugs. There was a stage where I started smoking weed for a bit with friends. And then I would stop that because I didn't enjoy that too much. And then I went through a period of taking ecstasy. I've bang on that for years, going to raves and thinking I'm living this high life. And I look back now and it makes me cringe thinking I used to just get into these horrible dark dingy clubs in the middle of nowhere,
jump up and down off your nut on some podium, taking me top off with a little pigeon chest, thinking I'm all hard. And yeah, mate, it's relatable, trust me. And the come downs off them fucking things, my God.
Yeah. I mean, they were getting weaker and weaker as the years were going on when I was doing it. But then I was always kind of tricking myself. I would always say to myself, when I've got a good enough reason to stop the party lifestyle and sort my life out a little bit, I will do it. So if I become a dad, I'll sort my life out. If I get the right job, if I get the right girlfriend, or something happens to make me want to stop, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And it never worked. I became a dad quite young. I was 21 when I had my first son. And I thought that would fix me, but it didn't. I carried on doing what I was doing, and then eventually his mum had enough and said, "You've got to go. Can't do this."
And she left you because of the drinking, was it, or was you arguing, or not there, or not present, or? It
was just all of it, really. I didn't look after myself. I wasn't very hygienic because I was more interested in getting drunk. I would work, but I would always go for a drink after. I was in the bar trade at the time, so I was like working in pubs, but I'd always stay for a drink after, and she was always like tired of me getting home late. Just, I mean, that's what the addiction does. You know, my only focus was the drink.
Yeah.
So
you don't realise it at the time.
No, you
Right.
you know, you think you're doing. You know, I thought I was doing the best.
Yeah,
by
I'm
going to work.
working. I deserve a drink. Da, da, da.
Yeah,
Oh,
of course.
yeah.
But so yeah, nothing was good enough to make me want to stop. You know, I went through years of, you know, when I'd stopped taking ecstasy when my son was born, so it was just drinking because I said that it's just the drugs that's the problem. And then when she told me to leave because she'd had enough, that put me on a more downward spiral. So I went on to amphetamines for a long time, and that stuff.
What sort of stuff's that? Like what?
So it was called like speed.
Oh, fuck that. Yeah.
Mm.
Heavy stuff, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's-
Going for days.
It's basically like ecstasy, MDMA, but just dirtier and cheaper.
Yeah.
It was disgusting. And I lost loads of weight. I was, I must have looked a mess. You know,
Yeah.
I'd go in for days and days without sleeping because I was just taking it all the time.
It's horrible. Yeah.
And then like a job came along, so I thought, you know, the funny thing is, like, I was always, when I was like making a mess of my life, I would always go, I need to sort myself out now. This is getting beyond a joke. So I'd stop taking the drugs. I'd stop drinking a little bit. So I was clever enough then to know that it was drinking drugs that was causing an issue. But then as soon as I've sorted my life out a little bit, like,
Back on. Straight back.
reward myself and just,
Yeah.
I'll go back to it again. And then every time it kind of got to a slightly harder drug. Started off on weed, then pills, then amphetamine, and then it went to cocaine. And we know the dangers of
Yeah.
alcohol and cocaine.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So was there like a pivotal sort of point for you, like a rock bottom for you, where, you know, that you were like, fuck. I mean, and were you? How was your relationship with your son through all of this? Were you seeing him and sort of maintaining that?
I was seeing him, but I was there kind of physically, but not mentally.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I could remember times where I would pick him up and I just wouldn't know what to do with him. Like, he'd want to spend time with me, and I'd take him to a pub, and I'd try and be sensible and only drink one or two whilst I'm with him. And, you know, being honest, I was probably just counting down the minutes until I could drop him home again. Because once I'd had one or two, I was just like, I was itching for more then. And I just wanted to take him home to his mum so I could just get back out on it.
That's why it destroys families. You don't realise it's the addiction. You don't realise, do you? So what happened next?
So I got into cocaine by accident, really. At the time, I'd got into a lot of debt with the CSA, and they were taking almost 40% of my wages.
Right.
And at the time, I was doing a minimum wage job, so they're leaving me with just over £100 a week to live on. And I knew someone that could get cocaine, so I was getting it off him, but selling it for a little bit more expensive.
No, you became a dealer. Fuck yeah.
So it was that's basically what I was doing at the start, just dealing it to make some extra money, so I could stay out in the pubs. And as I was selling more of it, he was like, "Oh, well, I'll just introduce you to the guy that I get it from, because you can get more off him for cheaper." And it just started escalating. And then because I had so much of it kind of spare as well, I started dabbling myself with it. And what that did for me was I wasn't too interested in taking it, but then because I love to drink, once I quickly realised that once I'd had a few drinks and I was starting to feel a bit drunk, have a bit of sniff, and then I'll feel sober again. And it was like a balancing act all night, you know, drink a bit, sniff a bit, drink a bit, sniff a bit, and just keep going. And, you know, like your guest that you had on, Nicola Abraham, I didn't realise what I was doing until I saw that podcast. Didn't realise what it was doing to me.
Yeah, creating the Coco ethylene. Yeah.
So it was getting out of control. I got to a point where I tried to take my own life. As you can see, I was unsuccessful in my suicide.
And was that on a come down? Or was it just...
It's hard to say because I'd probably gone for about 3 or 4 days without sleeping. And I was still using at the same time. So it could have been partly come down. It could have been I was in the middle of using.
But it was drink and alcohol.
Drink
and
cocaine.
Fueled.
Dan, just in case people haven't seen that episode, could you just take a minute to explain the combination just for people?
Yeah, so I often get the name wrong, and I get corrected online, as you do. But it's the mixture of alcohol and cocaine in the blood creates another chemical called Coco, ethylene, I think it is. I think I was saying it wrong before, but it's a mixture of the cocaine and the alcohol, and it stays in your body for longer, and it creates the last podcast I've done with Nicola Abraham, if you have a look back on it, we spoke in depth about it because she lost her son, he died by suicide, and then they went on a journey to find out that many people, especially men, that have got no history of mental health problems, had never spoken about wanting to end their lives, on these come downs, have had a split reaction to take their own life. And she believes, and there's a lot of research going into it, and we're having a look. I'm trying to help them as much as possible as I can, but she believes that it can create like a psychotic episode, almost like well, they called it an excited delirium, where you can't control your thoughts. And then they look further into it, and they realise that this mixture of the drugs that creates this cocoethylene, I think it is, can actually create like a psychosis, like a hallucinogenic style drug in your body, in your mind, which can create thoughts and feelings that aren't real. And they believe it's a massive cause of suicide in young men. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, I've done some research, and I've actually reached out to Nicola and spoken to her.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. She's just received 10 copies of my book because she wanted to get some for some of her clients as well. So that's
well done, mate. That's good. So what happened from there?
So basically, like it was, I'd gone through days of drinking and sniffing gear. We called it Beak back then. Did you ever
Beak,
call it that?
yeah. Someone just tweeted that to me today. Yeah, Beak.
I don't know why it was called that, but
Beak. Yeah, I don't know. Because you put, is that? I don't know. Why is that? Why is that? Is it because your nose is
up the beak? Yeah,
up your nose is a beak. I don't know. If anyone knows, let us know in the comments.
Have you got any beak?
Yeah.
And then if you,
I call it changalang.
Yeah, but you're posh, mate. I've never heard that before. If someone come up and said, "Would you like a lying a changalang?" I'd say, "You old Bill."
That's how we met.
Yeah.
If you were someone who was cutting it, you were known as someone that was bashing their beak.
Bashing their beak? Oh, really? Yeah, he's bashing his beak, bruv. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So I'd gone for days of like drinking and sniffing gear, and it was like I was getting myself in debt. I owed money. I was getting told that I had to pay up before I could get any more gear.
Yeah.
And I just decided that the best way out of it was to take my life. I couldn't see a way out. I truly believed that everyone would be better off without me. My son was like, I wasn't there. I wasn't really there present mentally, so I just thought he'd be fine without me. He'd be better off with just his mum. And I took an overdose of pills, but in a really like weird, sick, sadistic way. I was playing. I was living with my best mate at the time, and I got all the pills out of his cabinet that was in his house and just crushed them all up into like smaller bits onto a plate and put them next to me, and I was sat playing a game of golf on the Xbox, and in my head I told myself if I played a good shot and landed on the fairway or the green, I didn't have to take any pills. If I did a bad shot and landed off the fairway or missed the green, I had to take a mouthful of pills.
Fucking hell, mate.
And I just kept doing that until I finished the whole plate, and then I can remember like just feeling a bit weird and going a bit dizzy, and went to my bed and just thought I'll just lie down here now and I won't wake up.
Mate, it sounds like you were kind of putting it in, you wanted to do it, but you're also putting it in fate's hands. Maybe subconsciously you were like, I'm not sure if this is right, but
I don't know what I was doing. I mean, I can't imagine I was going to sit there and play a good shot every time for the rest of my life and not...
Exactly, so you knew, yeah. You just maybe found it easier doing it like that.
Yeah.
But wow, that's dark. And then, so when you were closing your eyes to go to sleep, did it not cross your mind? Did you not regret?
Not once. So what happened is the building we were living in was my best mate's flat, and there was a shop above his and then another flat above. And on that weekend, the people in the top flat had gone away for the weekend, and my best mate had got up and gone to work in the morning. And then for some reason, at about 7 a.m., the fire alarm went off in the building, and that's why his girlfriend found me and called an ambulance, and that's how I got saved.
Oh my God.
And we still don't know what set the alarm off. There was like no one else.
That's universal intervention there.
Do you think?
Could well be. I mean, who knows? But
so what? You were passed out, and she came into. Why did she come in to find you, or was she in the? Was she She was in his bedroom.
I think I'd gone into the bathroom to be sick, and then I was on the bathroom floor. So
Right.
she had the fire alarm, came out, and saw me in the bathroom.
Oh my God. Crazy. But you survived. They took you to hospital?
Yeah, the next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital with my mum sat next to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just felt awful, really. Like seeing my mum's face sat there thinking, the first thought that came to my head was, oh, shit, I haven't succeeded.
Really?
But then...
Did you really think that?
Yeah, that was the first thought that came to my head was, fuck, I'm still here.
Fucking hell.
And then I saw my mum and was just like, what have I done?
What did she say to you?
She didn't say a lot in the beginning, not that I can remember. I mean, I had tubes coming out of me and I was still being violently sick everywhere. I think she just kind of cried and hugged me. Because my parents, they had no idea that it had got that far. They just thought I liked to drink. They like to drink, so...
They didn't see it as a problem, though?
Yeah, no one really saw it as a big deal. I think my family knew that I was always the one that kind of went over the top with drinking. When I was for like family parties and gatherings, I was always one that caused a bit of trouble.
She got smashed, me too.
Yeah, but they didn't realise it had gone so far with drugs.
Was that your rock bottom?
No, you'd think it would be, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I carried on after that. My parents took me home.
Immediately?
Yeah, so this is how mad the addiction is. I'm sat in the hospital thinking,
I need a pint.
I still need to get myself out of this mess. I owe money. What am I going to do? And if I come out of hospital and I still owe the money, I've still got to sort the dealers out.
How much was that?
It wasn't even a lot. It was only about 700. But
still enough to stress you out.
Yeah. But I come up with a cunning plan. I had a regular customer who would buy lots off me, and I got him to buy some in advance. Then I used that money to pay the dealer off, then got another amount given to me, then gave him the amount that he'd bought out of that, and then had some left to sell that would then... And it...
Fucking mad.
Absolutely insane, yeah. And then it got to a point where I was picking up bigger amounts. It got to a point where I'd kind of got stitched up a little bit. I owed someone a little bit of money, and he owed more money to his dealers, and they'd come down to kind of threaten him to find out where all the money is, and he was inflating everyone else's debts. So he told them that I owed him nearly $3,000, and they come round the house to find me. He knocked on the door, and I thought it was just him. I opened the door, and then 3 big geezers jumped out from behind cars and forced their way into my house.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you owe this much money? And I was like, no, I don't. I only owe this much. And they were like, no, he told us you owe this much money. When can you get it? And I'm just like, I'm like a rabbit in headlights, don't know what to do, don't know what to say. And I'm just like, give me 2 weeks.
Fucking wankers.
And then some dude, the little guy, the littlest one of the 3, stepped forward from a kitchen counter. He stood in the corner for a bit. He stepped forward, opened up his jacket, showed me the handle of a gun, and said, "You've got a week." And I was like, okay. Just...
You asked your parents for the money?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I would have done and all. That's what I would have done. I was straight away, I would have gone, Mum, I need $3,000. Mind you, I probably wouldn't have, my family, I don't know, I would have got it off someone in my family.
But I'd let them down so many times, I didn't want to go there. And initially, like, my sister saw me, and she was like, my sister saw me about an hour after this happened, and she was like, what's the matter? You look like you've seen a ghost. And I just broke down and told her what had happened, and she was like, get round Mum and Dad's now. Like,
Yeah, it's no joke when someone shows you a fucking gun, right? You got to, yeah.
It could have been a water pistol for all I fucking know, but
You didn't want to find out.
I wasn't going to ask him.
No.
That's one of the kind of, in some ways, lesser spoken complications of drug use, is that you get involved, because it's illegal, you get involved in situations that you would never normally do, even with alcohol, because but with like cocaine and stuff, there's just going to be kind of, dark, nefarious people in the situation.
I mean, me personally, I never, because I was just doing tickets, right? I was just getting tickets here, getting tickets there, but I'm pretty sure there's loads of people that are watching this that are like, yeah, they've ticked, and then it's happened. I mean,
it's easy to get into because if you haven't got money yourself, the easiest way to be able to fund your own habit is to sell it.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there that are doing it.
Yeah.
And,
that's why the gear's so shit.
They go into it and it's, I thought it was going to be this sort of glamorous lifestyle you like see it in the movies.
You're just down the pub and you're like, yeah, all right, there you go. Yeah.
Thinking you're a bit of a Tony Montana.
Yeah. And it's the opposite.
So
what happened then? You got the money, you gave him the money, and then you was out. Tell me you was out.
Oh, yeah, gone.
Oh, you did?
I found, so a friend of mine, I was going, because after the suicide attempt, I'd been referred to a local drug and alcohol service, and I was seeing a key worker there, and it was mad because like I'm going there every week for these meetings and talking to her, and I'm going, yeah, I'm doing really well. I've not taken any gear this week, whilst my phone is going off in my pocket
to sell
on silent because people are trying to buy it because I'm still dealing. And then once all that shit happened, and I was like, I need to get out now because I'm either going to be in jail or dead soon. I'd been told by a friend of mine about it's almost like a charity run treatment centre, but they've got like 4 houses. Am I allowed to plug names of places?
Of course, you do whatever you want, mate. Yeah.
So I went to a place called the Amber Foundation. They've got 4 houses across the south of England. They've got one in Devon, one in Wiltshire, one in Surrey, and one in Kent. And they take young people who have just had a bad start in life. It doesn't always have to be drink or drugs. It could just be, a traumatic family life, and they're homeless, they're struggling. And they take people in, it's kind of charity run, and they just give you sort of like practical guidance of like how to manage money, because a lot of people that come into that, they've never paid a bill in their life because they've just never had to. So I went and stayed, I heard about that place, and I went to my key worker at the drug and alcohol service and said, I want to go here. Partly to kind of get away. I was trying to escape a little bit as well, I think, from the people that I was around. Yeah,
and the environment. You was probably scared as well, and you just thought a fresh start might be good.
Yeah. I was pretty petrified. And I went there, and even when I was there, some other guy that was living there came back on a train one day, and because you were allowed to go home at weekends once you've been there for a little while. And he came back and said that he'd been on a train back, and people had heard him talk about the place, and they'd said, "Oh, is Stewart Lee living there?" And he said, "Yeah." And they were like, "Oh, tell him we're going to come and get him." And I was like,
"Fuck's sake!
I can't even get away." I was like, "What did you say I was there for?"
Oh no!
Blaming him, he didn't know, but like nothing ever happened. But yeah, I went and stayed there for like 4.5, 5 months.
Was you, before you went there, was you like trying to stop drinking, but like, or was you like, I've got to stop at some point, so I'm going there? Or was you, on the lead up to that, was you trying to get off the booze?
It was mostly I wanted to get off the drugs.
Right, the coke.
Because I thought the coke was the problem. But they had a dry house policy as well, so you couldn't drink. So I did stop drinking whilst I was there as well.
You were there 4 or 5 months, but coming back at the weekends?
Coming back at the weekends, but I wasn't drinking at the weekends because they would breath test you when you got back.
Right, okay.
And piss test as well to make sure you hadn't taken drugs.
How was it? Was it okay? Was it incredibly difficult to stop when you were living there, or was it sort of easier than you thought?
The drugs was a bit easier to stop, I think. If I compare both things, stopping drugs was easier than stopping drinking.
Yeah.
But I'd got to my rock bottom with drugs at that point. I was like, I need to stop doing it. I need to sort my life out. This is getting too out of control.
You were there for the drugs, really, in your mind, weren't you?
Yeah, I never had the intention to stop drinking. I stopped drinking whilst I was there because that was their policy, but I never sort of told myself I'm going to stop forever.
Right. So what happened when you came out?
I stayed off the drink for a little bit, and it's like, this is how I know like I am an alcoholic, because if you stop drinking for like 6 months, when you start again, if you were a normal person, it wouldn't take you a lot to get drunk when you start drinking again. But I had after I came out of the treatment centre, my first drink was when I was on holiday with my parents. I was in Tenerife watching football with my old man, both big football fans, and I was like, just one won't hurt, will it? You know, we've said that many times, haven't we? Just one won't hurt. And he was like, yeah, it shouldn't do. So I had one, and then I was like, one more won't hurt, will it? And had another one, and then before I know it, we're there for the whole afternoon in the hot sun in Tenerife, drinking all afternoon. Then when the football finished, we went back to our hotel and then went to whatever the entertainment was in the hotel and carried on drinking till they kicked us out. And I think I must have had about somewhere between 15 and 20 pints on my first time drinking for about 6 months.
Fucking hell.
Like most normal people, that wouldn't.
No, you'd be like, well, yeah, you'd be like, I'll have one or two and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And prove to myself that I don't need any more.
Yeah. But I went all out.
Fucking hell.
First time. And then when we come back off the holiday, I just thought, and I tried to convince myself I could drink like a normal person. And yeah, no, it's because I've said in my book, like addiction is just fixing how we feel using something else. It doesn't matter what vice it is. It could be anything. It could be drink, drugs, sex, gambling, shopping.
Fixing how we feel with something else. Yeah.
Training, you get addicted to the gym, and some people get away with behaving in an addictive way all their lives because it's something that's not so outwardly destructive. Drinking drugs is so destructive to your life and everyone else's life around you that it becomes a noticeable problem very quickly.
But like sex addiction might not.
No, I mean it'll still have effects on your life, but it won't be to the point of the same as drinking drugs would.
Or like because I'm just trying to think of all the other addictions. Yeah, you're
like
right.
Food. This book I'm reading, there's a story about a lady who's like completely addicted to food because she was masking other things. So she got like super fat and then had to like discover her kind of inner psyche and why she was doing it. So it can be literally anything that gives you dopamine you can get addicted to.
Yeah, I use that as an example in the book. So like if you see someone who's morbidly obese and you say, why can't they stop eating? They know what they're doing to themselves, but like we don't know how their brain works. Me as an addict, when I have a drink, it sets off this thing in my brain that I just want more of it. And that can be the same with someone who's got a food addiction. They might think, I'm feeling a bit low today, I'll make myself feel better, I'll have a cake.
Yeah, well, I went through like a stage in my sobriety, like I've just started coming out of it, and weirdly after I ran a half marathon yesterday, weirdly after that I felt it coming back, but I was like pack of hobnobs and like it was noticeable. My missus was like, man, like I was getting right into my chocolate, and I was like eating something, I'm going like, that feels good, like an addict, right? And it's dopamine, isn't it? That's that it must be the key. And also like when you eat something, it kind of takes you out of what you're doing. Like you're sitting watching TV. And I'm like, I'll eat, man.
Definitely. Think about how many times we've been bored and then just gone to the cupboard to eat. It's just it's just like checking your phone. It's just it's basically not being in the present moment.
I think it was what Eddie said. Eddie, when she was on here, she said actually eating addiction is one of the hardest addictions ever because you have to eat. Yeah. It'd be like, trying to give up alcohol when you have to drink alcohol, or like give up drinking alcohol in excess when you have to drink a certain amount of it to survive. But yeah, so man, dopamine.
But the example I use in the book is like when I say, I think like everybody is on the addiction scale somewhere, but just like different intensities, and different vices have different effects on people's brains. So say you're like, I use my sister as an example. She works in school. She's got quite a stressful job. She'll come home and she'll go, that was a stressful day. I'll have a glass of wine. She'll have a glass of red wine, and then she'll be able to put the bottle away and put it on the shelf and not touch it until the next day. Now, she still used something to fix how she feels, and that's what everybody in the world does. But it hasn't made her go over the top and then set off the craving where she wants more and more and more of it. And I still have to be careful nowadays of things that I'm doing. I still do things like that to
me too,
fix how I feel. I'm a big trainer addict. I buy trainers all the time, but it's not going to, it could cause me problems if I'm spending money that I can't afford to spend. Yeah. But At the moment, I'm not. So it doesn't cause me as many problems. I'll buy a pair of trainers. It fixes how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, look, if you're going to be an addict, pick your addictions.
Yeah.
Or choose your addictions wisely, but be aware. I mean, fuck me. I mean, that's what sobriety to me is about working out who I am. And I'm like, fucking hell. Like, I like, even every now and then it pops into my mind, like sitting having these conversations with people, because majority of people that I interview or got themselves in a much worse situation than I did it, or it seems like that to me. Or maybe I play that trick on my mind that, you know, sometimes I feel a bit guilty. Should I have this podcast? Should I be here talking about it? Am I really an addict? Did I really have problems? But then when I think about when I drank and I used drugs, fuck me, mate. I used them like a maniac.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I know deep down. And it's the same now. When I, like, you know, I finished that marathon yesterday. I went home and then I was sitting there and I was like, babe, I'm just going to go up to the shop and get some chocolate and stuff. And she's like, well, you just ran a marathon. I was like, yeah, exactly. It's my reward. And I ended up getting like 3 packs of biscuits, some cookies, like some actual chocolate things. I bought them all back and I was like, don't even be stupid. Just have a couple of biscuits and an ice cream. And that was it. But I mean, I was still addictive behaviour, you know, and my phone, I'm solidly addicted to my phone. And last week I took 6 days off Instagram. And I felt the difference. It was unbelievable. You know, my screen time was 12 hours a day, and I managed to get that down 83%. Like, it was mad. But I'm like, I pick it up, I go boom, 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 scroll and scroll.
Did you feel better for it, for not having your phone?
Oh my God, I felt like another level of. I felt like just normal, man. Because the problem that, sorry to go on a tangent, but the problem that I've got is, the negativity that I get from my social media in general, does affect me. It brings my mood down. But the positivity as well, like the people constantly saying that my stuff's good, or, you know, when I do a video and it gets like, you know, I've done a video on Sam Smith over the weekend. It's like 3 million views, like fucking 20,000 comments across all the social media, all of it, like majority of it positive. And even the positive ones makes you go, oh my God, I'm amazing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm a comedy genius. And then you're thinking about all the positive stuff. And then the world around you, your little kiddies and your missus and everything is all just, and that whole situation doesn't become like what you're thinking about in your life. And I found with them 6 days, I was like, come back down to earth, and then the enjoyment that I was getting from my normal life was heightened.
I think I heard someone say it once. They said it, described it as, I've got a massive ego, but I've got just as big an inferiority complex. Oh my God, that's me. So I want this limelight, but as soon as I get it, I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. Oh my God, look at my bag. Look at my bag. It's not drugs. It's not.
That's every comedian, Dan. It's like, we need the thing,
and then we're scared of it. And this is, my counsellor gave me this book this week. Look at that. The ego is the enemy. And this is my big battle at the moment that I'm working really hard on. Is trying to get out of my own fucking head and out from my own arse. Do you know what I mean? I'm just bring it down. So talk to me. Come on. Where were we? Right, so you still thought you were okay drinking? Yes.
Madness, yeah.
You had like 20-something pints.
Yeah, that time on holiday.
Something ridiculous, yeah. And yeah, so I sort of carried on drinking, but I was also, at the same time, so it looked like the most controlled period of my addiction, the last 5 years, because I was just drinking. But inside my head mentally, it was like torturing me even more, because I was like trying to convince myself that I was okay, but at the same time knowing I wasn't. Losing control. Yeah. And one of the stories that made me like really understand how bad the addiction was. So we, like, people talk about addiction as being like an obsession that you can't get rid of. When you wake up in the morning, you think you're gonna have a drink. Once the obsession hits you, there's no way of getting out of that until you have a drink. And, you know, I might set you off in a minute, talking about my kids. But, yeah, the story that really, I tell this story to a lot of people because it's quite important for people to understand. I'm not proud of this story, but it's important. So the mother of my 2 younger children, she was pregnant with my daughter, and we knew we were going to have a daughter because between us we'd had 4 boys already. So we wanted to make sure we were having a girl, and we were happy, you know, over the moon, we're having a girl, looking forward to it. And she was 2 weeks late, and she said, I'm going out for a drive with my dad to go over speed bumps. Apparently it's some way of making a Labour start. And I'd woke up that morning knowing that it was Liverpool against Man United, big football day. So my head straight away has gone, football day today, have a drink. And she turned around to me and said, if you have a drink today, you're not coming to the birth. And
you were together. You were still together.
Together.
Yeah.
She woke up and said, I'm going for a drive with my dad. If you have a drink, you're not coming to the birth. I was like, right, okay.
Wow. Just to stop you there, but was she getting sick to death of your drinking then at that point? Or she didn't want you specifically drinking around the time the baby was coming?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. But I wasn't, she went out, and I don't know if I didn't believe her or didn't care, but the obsession had taken hold of me, and I couldn't stop myself.
I can't not have a drink today.
Like,
it's the football.
Yeah. So I started drinking maybe an hour and a half before the game even started. I think I got a text at half time saying Labour started, baby's on the way, get the hospital bag ready. And I was like, oh, I better have another can quickly before they come home. So I opened another one and necked that one. So I think I'm probably like 4 or 5 cans in. Get in the car. Her dad's driving us to the hospital, and all I could think on the way there was, oh, I hope this one doesn't take too long.
Fucking hell.
Because the last one took quite a long time. Get to the hospital. Her dad's outside. We're in the room. She has the baby. And then all I could think was, in my mind, was thinking about, I hope she stays in overnight.
So you can go back to the pub, or so you can keep drinking.
So I can wet the baby's head. It's a tradition, isn't it? You wet the baby's head.
Yeah.
And then she said, oh yeah, I'm staying overnight. And I was like, yes. And then her dad said, because it was out of town from where we lived, and he said, I'm driving home now. Do you want to come with me, or are you going to wait and get the bus? And she looked at me and said, you might as well go with Dad. And I was like, yes, get out quicker. So I left, asked him to drop me off at the shop, because I knew there was only a couple of cans left in the fridge. So I got him to drop me at the shop so I could buy another 12-pack, walk home, and then I go there and drink all of the cans on my own, thinking I'm wetting the baby's head, thinking I'm the best dad in the world. But I look back now, and I don't remember what the room looked like. I don't remember the time she was born. I don't remember the first outfit we put her in. I don't remember anything, because the obsession had taken hold of me so much. All I was thinking about all day was, I'm going to have a drink. When we're at the hospital, I'm going to go and have another drink.
Does that hurt you thinking back to that still?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. My daughter's 10 now, and she'll probably read the book one day, and she'll probably know that story. And it's horrible to think that that's...
I get it, mate. Listen, I regret so much around my kids. I get it, man. And she's 10 and you're 10 years sober. So I got a feeling that daughter changed your life, really.
Yeah, it wasn't long after she was born that I decided. She was born in the January, and I gave up drinking the May of the same year. Yeah.
That normally would have made me cry, mate. But I've done so much work on myself now to forgive, not to forgive myself, but to accept, what I've done wrong, and it's such a hard one, isn't it? Because you don't want to blame alcohol and the addiction for our own selfish ways, but we didn't, we had problems. So it's hard. You have to take accountability, right?
Oh yeah, of course. But you always have to remember as well that there's so many things that you do when you're in addiction that you
wouldn't normally do.
You convince yourself that it's acceptable behaviour.
Yeah. But I feel for you, my brother. I feel for you because things like that. I mean, look, and fucking hell, what we put the women through, but things like that you can't get. I mean, it's punishment enough for those things. You can't get those times back.
No.
And that was a massive motivator for me to get sober. Around my wedding, being drunk on my wedding day, and both times I wet the baby's head, mate. Same thing for me. Same thing. It completely overshadowed both births.
But that's why alcohol is so hard to give up, because there's so many things that it's just ingrained
Celebrations.
in society.
Yeah.
Even at your wedding, you toast to the bride and groom.
Mate, yeah.
Just so many things that they make it seem so normal.
And the thing is, and I said this the other day, but listen, right? If you can't control your drinking and things get out of hand, you run the risk of destroying every valuable celebration in your life. Every time that you should be celebrating, every valuable celebration, every memory that you want to cherish, because it's through our culture tied in to alcohol to celebrate with. If you can't control your drinking and it always gets out of hand and it turns you into a selfish person, you run the risk of ruining all them memories.
Well, I'm getting married next year, so...
Let's get on the smash. No, I'm joking. Wow.
Are you coming? Yeah.
I'll come, yeah. But no, but you're getting married, yeah, and you're going to be getting married sober.
I'm getting married sober, yeah. I've done so many things sober now, but like one of the things that I try and say to people in like when I'm in recovery groups and things like that is that your life gets better when you're sober, and there's so many things that improve, and like material things, like I never managed to really hold anything down when I was drinking. So materially, my life is much better, but
money, work, all that, yeah.
But the most important thing that sobriety gives you is stuff that money can't buy, and it is what you say about those memories, the relationships, the events that you can remember. Like, I wasn't present for my family, for my children, for my nieces and nephews. Yeah. And when I was drinking, I wasn't even trusted to go in my sister's house when she was there. Because if something wasn't nailed down, I'd nick it because I needed money for drink.
Wow.
But now I've got my own key,
Oh, wow.
And she phoned me, she texted me once out of the blue and said, I need to talk to you. And initially I'm like, oh, fuck, what have I done?
The go-to. Yeah, the go-to.
And I was like, okay, I'll come round later. And I went round and I was like panicking, sweating, thinking, what's this about? And she said, me and Steve, her husband, we're rewriting our wills and we need someone who can be like legal guardian to our children if anything's happened to both of us.
Oh, my God.
And we want to know if you'd like to do it.
Oh, that must have been heartbreaking. I bet you cried, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. To go from not being trusted to step foot in their house to then being trusted with their children afterwards, and just having that good relationship with my family now, being able to go on the golf course with my nephew, all things like that. That's the stuff that money can't buy. Yeah,
mate, I completely relate to you. We, I have little moments now where I'm like, oh man, like when I done the marathon yesterday and I finished and the kids and the missus was there, and it was like seeing I know this sounds stupid because it's what your wife should do, but seeing my wife there, like all proud, and she'd bought the kids, like I didn't even think she was going to come because it's only half marathon and she's done a whole marathon. So she was like, are we coming? Like, come on. And she was getting all the kids all railed up the day before and everything. And I was like, wow, it was just so nice. And I finished and they were there and we had a cuddle and then we all had fun in the car on the way back. And I was just like, there's no way that this day would have happened if I wasn't sober. And it wasn't, I mean, obviously I was screaming and shouting about it online and getting all the fucking attention, but the beautiful thing was just being with the kids. Do you know what I mean? So
just to see them proud of their dad.
To see them proud, and also like just to be doing life. Do you know what I mean? Like doing things.
But I'm similar to you. Like I've seen from looking on your social media and stuff, you push yourself to achieve things, and that's what I've done in like my recovery. Like from early on, I told myself I need to push myself out of my comfort zone and do things that I'm scared of doing.
I go on.
So I got into boxing quite quickly after getting sober. I thought I'd always wanted to give it a go. I thought I'd have one fight and get my ass kicked and then just say that I've done it. But I won the first fight and then had a real buzz for it and carried on. Ended up having 12 white collar fights.
Wow, you're like the white collar destroyer.
Well, not so much.
You're rocking up like that. It's my first time.
I got an all right record. I got 7 wins and 5 losses.
No, man, I love that. I from someone that boxes daily, I know how fucking hard that is. It's so hard to get
the fitness levels are
the fit level. Yeah, it's and. Yeah, and I get why that turned into a new thing, because it was like a buzz and you just feel so good.
Well, I said to people when I won the first fight, and that feeling of when the ring announcer's there going and the winner is Stewart bang bang Lee, and then the ref lifts your arm up. That feeling then was like the amount of effort that I'd put into to get that moment, and that high was better than any drug I've ever taken.
Yeah,
and it lasted for a lot longer.
Yeah, the best highs are harder to get. You know, I put that into my tweet with my marathon thing, and I said, you know, at the weekends now, I've got to do fucking hard work to get any sort of high.
Yeah.
You know, but it's so much more rewarding.
But that's why it's so easy for people to go back to drinking drugs, because it's the quickest, easiest way of getting a high.
Well, that's why I'm a firm believer in, and I know I'm conscious that we're. By the way, fucking hell! Just while we're on this, I just said I'm conscious we're out of time. Someone commented on the last podcast and was like, "Well, listen, just let them tell their story. If it takes an extra half hour, it takes an extra half hour. Why are you conscious of the time? Because we're on a fucking time limit." So I just want to get that out there. I just want to box some of the people commenting. But oh mate. But yeah, man, I'm a firm believer that as a species, like as especially men, but as a species or whatever, we're hunters and gatherers, right? We're supposed to be chasing something, whether it's like mentally or metaphorically or physically, you know, we're supposed to be chasing something. And I feel like if you lack purpose, addiction can creep in. So if you give yourself purpose, like the boxing or whatever, but not just that, when you wake up in the morning, if anyone's ever anything like me, where you're like full of worry or thought or overthinking, you know, the natural stresses that we get the natural stresses in life that we get from our phones, you know, going on and seeing the news, the stress from the news, or comparing our lives to other people on social media, or the access that our work or whatever has got to us, you know, emails, WhatsApp messages, people wanting, you know, we ain't designed for that fucking level of anxiety and stuff like that. So we feel like we're under attack. And when we were like chasing down saber-toothed tigers and fucking knocking out T-Rexes, I don't know if we ever done that, but you know, when we were cavemen, that fucking sort of threat was real, right? Yeah. So our anxiety goes up. So if you mix that with no exercise in your life and no way of burning it off, you just build tension, stress, anxiety, which ultimately can turn into depression. So I think it's a massive, I think if you're planning on going sober, you know, it's a massive thing, isn't it?
I had someone ask me last week, you know, what's a good tip for trying to get sober early on? And I said, like, find yourself something else to be obsessed with.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
So I did it with boxing, and then boxing became easy. Not easy as in like I was the best in the world. No. Easy as in like it didn't scare me anymore. Yeah, me too. So I thought I need to try something different, and I'd always wanted to learn to dance. So I went. Fuck off!
Fuck off! What dancing?
Yeah,
what like? Wait! Don't let me guess. Wait, it ain't tap, is it? Wait! You fall in the sink. No, it's Let me guess. Salsa.
No, I did salsa for a little bit, but I didn't like it.
No.
So I do modern jive. It's called
Jive. Yeah. What, the old jive that the old people used to do?
So it's called modern jive. So it's similar, like it's partner dancing, and the women do a lot of twists and turns and stuff like that. But it's sort of slowed down, and you can dance to more modern music.
Mate, you are the stereotypical fucking sober guy, mate. You just start doing all mad, weird shit. all your friends are like, you heard about him, yeah? He's dancing now. It's fucking...
That is exactly it.
Yeah. I love it, though, man. Fuck it, man. And,
look, I tell you what, though, doing a dance competition for the first time and dancing, because there's different categories in the competitions, and I decided to do one where it's just, it's called Showcase, where it's just you and your partner dancing a choreographed routine that you've made in front of everybody else. So doing that in front of like, I think probably 400 people, that was more scary than boxing.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I can understand.
A lot more self-conscious doing that.
You're putting yourself out there creatively as well, because it's your dance that you've written.
Yeah, man. Right, we've got to finish up there, Stuart. I found that really, really interesting. Anything you want to add, where people can find you, where they can get the book, anything like that before we finish?
Yeah, the book is available on Amazon, as paperback or Kindle, and on Apple Books. Stewart Lee, Me and My Addiction. I'm on social media. I've got a couple of different Instagram platforms. I've got my author page, which is Stewart_Lee_author. And I've also just created a new sort of like sobriety community platform for people to come. I do weekly sessions, like almost like a meeting, but online, so people can come and join that. If you're interested in doing that, it's kind of just
that's a great tool. So people just come and talk.
Yeah. So I've done it like I've got like a format where people come on, and then it's like one of the questions that we ask everybody to answer is, what's your wins for the last week? So to give some positivity of something they've done that's great, and then what's your positive intentions for the next week? So they can, you know, if you say you're going to do something, you're more likely to actually do it. rather than just think it. And then we do a topic, and I'll read something around sobriety, and then give my little sort of 5 minutes on what that topic is and what it means to me, and then give everyone else an opportunity to talk about it as well.
Brilliant.
Anything they want to.
What's that called?
It's called Sobriety Rocks. So the idea of the platform Sobriety Rocks is to kind of, I want to get rid of the stigma that sobriety is boring.
Yeah, man.
Because when I first got sober, I thought, well, what am I going to do if I don't drink?
Yeah.
Life's going to be dull. But it's not. I actually have more fun now.
Fucking dancing
sober.
and shit.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Dancing and I've got to remember that I'm not boxing when I'm dancing, because I don't want to start punching the guy.
Yeah. Sobriety Rocks, yeah?
Sobriety Rocks. So that's.
Is it on the App Store or?
No, it's online.
Website?
I do it through Zoom. But if you want to join on it's on Wednesday nights, 7:45. If you want to jump on and have a look at it, there's a Zoom link. It's on my Instagram page, which is at Sobriety Rocks UK.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool.
So the idea is to do the weekly sessions, I call them, and then I'll also do sober retreats, so weekends where guys and girls can come and camp out and do some practical stuff for mindfulness and wellness.
Wicked.
And then the end goal is to do a sober festival. I want to put on a gig, some live music and stuff where people can come and there's no alcohol and just have a good time.
Well, we keep talking about that, me and you, mate. I can help you with that, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, man.
That's good.
How do you feel about doing the podcast?
I love it. I want to do my own podcast. Can you come and be a guest on mine?
Of course.
When I get my arse in gear and actually
No
start
problem.
doing it.
100%. 1,500 quid. I'll be there. I'm joking. Of course I will, mate. You give me your time, I'll give you mine. Stuart Lee, thank you again, mate. Thanks
so
for
much
joining
for
us.
tuning in.
Thanks for joining us. Right, I'm going to wrap this up by saying a few words, man. I just want to say a big thank you to my guest, Stuart Lee. You can find his book there, Me and My Addiction. All right, just give it a search and you'll find that. And John, big shout out to you, mate.
Thank you, my friend.
Good to see you back in.
Another great episode.
Yeah, good fun. We didn't have a camera, but he is looking as beautiful as ever for anyone out there. Find him on OnlyFans. No, I'm joking. But listen, I just wanted to just explain a little something to you guys. Like the direction of the podcast is ever changing. So thank you for having your patience with me. So, we had Kirk here for a while. We've had stuff about everything from, addiction to loads of different types of addiction to suicide to da-da-da. And I get a lot of messages. I'm like, what is the podcast? It's changing. Can you do this? Can you do that? Ultimately, I just want to talk and connect. That's all I want to do. And I feel like it's the most beautiful, powerful thing that we can do with each other. And the more I sit and talk to people, no matter who you are, where you're from, what your problem was, or where you are in your journey, where you've overcome, I get sucked in and I just learn, and it opens a conversation and it keeps me thinking. And that's all I want this podcast to be. So I hope you appreciate it, and I hope it's helping some of you out there. And any positive feedback is always welcome in the comments for me and both my guests, because we get super conscious about it. So yeah, any negative stuff, just come and meet me. No, I'm joking. But thank you very much, John. Thank you, Stuart. And that was Menace to Sobriety. Share the pod, leave us a comment, like it. I'll see you soon. Hello! We are going to take the Menace to Sobriety to the live stage, and we need a live studio audience to interact with us, to come along, listen, laugh, and learn everything about sobriety, mental health, well-being, and just come along for a night out with like-minded people. We are going to be going live on the 30th of August, 27th of September, 25th of October, and the 29th of November. That's one a month. Get your tickets now. Come down, meet the team, and have some fun. Menace to Sobriety Live, coming soon. Oh yes, and don't forget, if you want to come and see me live and meet me, I'm going on tour. The Daniel O'Reilly Out of Character full UK tour kicks off in January 2024, and tickets are on sale right now. I'm going to try and get out and meet as many of you as possible, and of course, I'm going to be bringing the laughs all over the UK. There's 23 dates right now, and I'm adding more all the time. Hit the link in the bio and get your tickets now and come have some fun. If you're going through a tough time at the moment, please don't suffer in silence. Feel free to pick up the phone and contact any of these helplines. I personally, myself, at one of my darkest points, contacted the Samaritans, and it completely changed my outlook and got me out of a really deep, dark place. A problem shared really is a problem halved. So if you don't feel confident talking to those around you, check out any of these organisations and give them a call. This is my Facebook group. Just simply search on Facebook, Men and Their Emotions. It's for men only, but once you're in there, you can talk anonymously about your problems and help others and just feel a little bit of community. So come join the conversation, Men and Their Emotions, on Facebook. Thanks for watching.
Menace to sobriety. Just a menace.